Greetings, everyone. We're so happy to be here today. My name is Leslie Montgomery, and this is the beautiful Minister Wanda Floyd. You are tuned into Leslie's Lessons Learned. Let's get started. Today, we're going to be talking about how to be trustworthy, something along them lines. Let's get started. So, as I said, greetings to everybody. We're so happy you're here. And we can't do it without you. We're grateful that you come into this space. And guess what? I don't have the day. You're going to have to do your mirror. You're going to have to do it today.
Here, you want mine?
Help yourself.
Well, you just talk and I'll hold up my mirror.
She said for me to just talk and she'll hold up a mirror. Well, we're just glad to be here today. Sheikah, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure. Minister Wanda's going to look in her mirror. And as she looks in her mirror, we're going to just, I didn't realize I didn't have my mirror until I just looked over and said, it's not here. But when I look in the mirror, I see things so much different. I don't see things like I used to see. I used to be able to look in the mirror and almost cry. Oh, why I'm not so pretty as this one? Why can I be uh, fabulous at like this one? Why can't I do this? And here's the one, Minister Wanda. I was listening to your broadcast, and I said, I ain't teaching another thing. This woman can teach. And the father said, she's a teacher. What you think? I was like, thank you, Father, because that is not my role, and I'm gonna stay in my lane, do what I know to do as we go forth. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're looking from. So we want to say how. Don't close your mirror. We want to say hello to you, and we're so glad that you're here. How you doing, Pastor Jackie? Thank you so much for being here. And beautiful Minister Wanda is going to tell us what she sees when she looks in her mirror.
So when I look at my mirror this morning, like you said, I'm grateful for who I am. Let me pull it back so y'all can see my mirror.
We see
I'm
it.
grateful for who I am, who Yahweh made me to be. Like you said, oftentimes we will look at somebody else and be like, you know what? I'm not even going to try to do that no more because they are so good at it. But just as Yahweh reminded you, that's her calling and that's what that person is supposed to do. So when I look in my mirror this morning, I'm grateful for who I am and who Yahweh called me to be. I know my identity.
I know who I am. Isn't that a song? Hey, Ash. Uh, yeah, we know our identity. That's something we'll have to talk about at some point. That knowing your identity, it causes you to be more complete. And we'll have to talk about that at some point. I promise you, when you know your identity and who you are, you're able to do things differently. You're able to respond differently, and you're able to live differently. Because when you don't know who you are, that's when you have issues with being insecure, with being sad, disappointed. Just so many different things come from not knowing who you are. So I'm grateful today as well that you know who you are and you standing in that. No matter what anybody else does or said, you're standing in that. And I just love that. I love the fact that you're standing in who you are. Um, it means it's a whole that takes makes things a whole lot better. They just changed up everything when you know who you are and how to operate in who you are. And I promise you, Minister um, Wanda is awesome teacher. She's an awesome teacher. I miss her taking notes. She used to take the notes, and I miss the notes. And I still have every note that you have done, and I keep them. And every once in a while, I go back and I say, look through it and get some nuggets from something Apostle has taught, and then you turned around and transcribed it. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for being here this morning. Um, when we really think about life and we think about what it means to be trustworthy, and before we go there, I still want to speak to those that are sitting on the side of the bed saying, is life worth living? You might be looking in the mirror and crying and saying, is life living? I want to promise you that life is worth living, and life is so much better when you see it through the eyes of Yahweh, through the eyes of God, than when you see it through your own eyes. That's when we mess up. I had this written down one time because I heard someone say it, and they say, I don't pay attention to my eyes because my eyes lie to me. And I said, at that point, it was like, yeah, yeah, because what I'm seeing is not what's really there. And I have created and shaped this whole picture of something that is not who I am. So I kind of I chuckled at that, and I was like, yeah, your eyes can lie to you. You can look in the mirror and you can see everything but what you're supposed to see. You can see your wrinkles, you can see uh um blemishes. There's so many things. You can look at your hair. Look, my hair didn't come out right today. I can look at that and promise you it did not come out the way it was supposed to come out. But all is well. All is well, even though it didn't. But just we could just look and see so many things that are negative because society has created. Oh, Miles Monroe says that too. Okay, it was somebody else I heard, but they probably got it from Miles. But when you really think about life and what life means and the your experience that you get from being in place, not out of place, being in alignment, it causes you to realize what you thought about yourself was only vain, self-righteousness. Yeah, I'm finding out a lot of stuff we did and we responded to was out of self-righteousness, thinking that it wasn't. And that's a whole nother topic right there. A lot of us live from the aspect of being self-righteous and don't even know it. So before we go any further, and I want us to say what we say every Sunday, but I want you to understand that if you're living in your past, you're by yourself. Yahweh's not there. He's right here wanting to do some new things for you, even in this hour. So you got to come from where that place is of the place of do not, the place of not have, the place of, oh, I'm just not worthy, the place of, uh, why did he make me? Why am I here? I heard somebody said they used to think that from a child, and it does. It's something that builds from something that happens in your life to make you feel that way. So we have to say our saying. But I don't. I want you to realize that life is worth living, and it's good to not live life in the old, but to live life in the new. What do I mean? If you living back there, that those things is old. They passed away. It's nothing you can do about most of the stuff that was in your past. Because why? It's in the past. So now let's live from where we are. Now, your friend Harold, um, Minister, well, I've been trying to get him on. It ain't working, but it's okay. But he said something the other day. I was listening to him, and I thought it was pretty cool. He said, when you walk with purpose, you collide with your destiny. And I thought that was pretty cool, And that was something he said the other day. I was like, oh, yeah, I like that. So life is good and it's too good to waste. So we don't want you to waste life today. So can we say what we usually say every Sunday? A life without me is like a world without color. And if you can't say it, let me say it for you. A life without you is like a world without color. So as we get started today, um, like I said, be trustworthy. How do you be trustworthy? And I had another word up there. I see it didn't make it in the subscription, but what does that really look like being trustworthy, being a person of your word, um, being a person of your word, and living from that aspect of it, no longer living from the aspect that you say one thing and do another. You know, you don't intentionally mean do what you say. I remember one day I was at an not a it was a church affair, and the ladies was this the pastor was talking to this young man's um, father, and she was asking him to bring him his sons back that night, and he's like, "Oh, okay, okay, okay." And when she walked by, the girlfriend said, "You gonna bring him back?" And he was like, "No, I ain't bringing him back," you know. And that's not being a man of your word or trustworthy. And sometimes we think that pulling the wool over somebody's eyes, you know, making them think that you're going to do something or saying you're going to do something and you're really not going to do it. That's a lie. That's just a lie. Let's just call it what it is. It's a lie. Um, I don't know, Minister Wanda. Um,
Well,
you
first
say
let
so-
me say, uh, I have to go back. I wanted to stop you, but you were flowing so beautifully.
oh,
When
you
we
should have
talk
stopped
about
me.
our eyes will lie to us. So let me just say this. When you and I first came on camera, the first thing I noticed was your hair. And it's beautiful. Now it might not have come out the way you wanted it, but it's that's the first thing because my eyes are trained to do that. And so
Thank you.
the first thing I saw was, man, and I meant to tell you that, but we got to talking about, yeah. Well, this wonderful platform that we use that is just absolutely amazing. That's what we were talking about.
We
And
definitely were.
yeah, your hair is absolutely beautiful. Don't you
Oh,
guys
well,
think so? It's beautiful.
thank you.
And so now
Thank
we
you.
start our topic about trustworthy. I just felt I needed to tell you that
Thank you so much.
that is true that our eyes lie to us. Like we see one thing. You tell me that all the time. You know, we our eyes see one thing or tell us one thing, and a lot of times it does lie to us. It's not really what we see. It what we see isn't really the truth, and so we have to be able to even be careful with that. Because some folk, their eyes lie to them. They tell them that they look good and
Oh,
that dress look good on you. ah, and yeah, and it be lying. It really. I'm using all the ebonics I can. It be lying to you, child. It be lie. It be lying. So
but you know, let me stop you right there because that makes me mad when people look at somebody and they know they don't look good and they'll tell them they do. I think that that's a disservice you're doing to the person, you know, and they go out there and they think they're looking fly, and it doesn't have it. You could be heavy, you can be thin. It doesn't matter. It it doesn't mean that you're thin that everything you put on looks right on you.
matters you.
And
Yeah,
if you're heavy, it doesn't mean that everything you put on looks right on you. But you got to be honest with the person. Don't be worried about hurting their feelings. You rather hurt their feelings and them change and put something on, better on.
right. Because if you're really their friend, when you go out, you represent each other. You know, and you my friend. I don't want nobody talking about you because now I got to take my see. Now we got to fight.
Take the earrings off.
And I got to put the Vaseline on my face because now somebody got to catch their hands because these hands because they didn't talked about my friend. So it's true friendship Trustworthiness. Ah, thank you, Yahweh. Trustworthiness. Trustworthiness that is that if I'm your true friend and I see something not right, that I'm going to tell you. You can trust me with you, and I can trust you with me. Now, it's how, yes, ma'am, how we say it. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So we're gonna make this live right now. That if I come on and I look a hot mess, you're gonna tell me. Remember, we've had this discussion.
We have, and and thus far, I've been on here a year. You have never looked a hot mess. Now, you tell me too. You know. Now, mind you, mine might be like the sportscasters. You know what I mean?
You want to elaborate on that one?
Long as I don't stand up, we good.
You-
There you go. Because it's like 6 in the morning. So
right.
sometimes we might have a whole outfit on, and then
And
sometimes
sometimes not.
we might be like the sportscasters, right? But I would never, and I know you would never. Like Wanda, maybe fix your lipstick a little bit. You know,
Right.
I was on live one time, and that's one reason why I don't like to wear lip gloss, because after a while, sometimes you get the little residue that starts to form on your mouth. At
Okay.
least for me, I don't wear lip gloss well, although I have on some today. And one of my friends came on the live, and she noticed that it was starting to build up, and she texted me and said, "Fix your lip gloss."
Yeah.
That's that's a friend. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
so
do that. Mhm.
trustworthiness is with friends. We can trust each other. I can trust me with you, and you can trust me with you, right? And the thing is that it's not what you say. It literally is how you say it. So I'm not gonna tell my friend. Well, depends on the relationship, you know. And then even with that, Apostle will say all the time, familiarity breeds contempt.
Breeds contentment.
I can talk this morning. And sometimes we don't want to get too comfortable that we say anything. Be like, girl, you look a hot mess. Take that off. And thinking that y'all that comfortable with each other that you can say that. And you might think it's funny and think that she's going to think it's funny or he's going to think it's funny. And they'll laugh and go along with it. But in the back of their mind, that really hurt their feelings. So
Yes.
it's just the way you said, you know what? Like, I really like, don't you have a purple blouse? Yeah, I got a purple. You know that purple blouse really brings out your complexion with that jacket. I think you should wear that, girl. You know, not why you got that orange blouse on. That looks stupid. That don't go. You know, it's how we say it. Yeah.
And that's a very important thing that you're saying, because something we don't think a lot of times. And why do I say that? We say things and we might not mean it harshly, but because we said it the way we said it, it does hurt people's feelings. And we have to also be careful that every time we say something, that is not negative to the person. Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. We can't just say things the first thing that comes off the top of our heads. It doesn't matter the relationship, because words hurt. Word. I remember in a relationship. I remember telling. Um, I'll just be honest. I remember telling my ex husband, "Shoot, I'd rather you hit me um, than some of the stuff that you say. I'd rather you hit me because then at least I can kind of like cover that up and it'll heal after a while. But those words, man, it takes a minute to come back from the words that people say sometimes. You know, I really feel like although physical abuse is an issue, all abuse is an issue, and I'm please, I am not, let me put this disclaimer out. I am in no way um downplaying or diminishing physical abuse. But I've noticed sometimes, this is what I mean. Verbal abuse has a longer lasting effect at times than physical abuse, because years later people are still dealing with the verbal abuse that they've gone through. That's what I mean. And so when you're trustworthy, you are even careful with the things that comes out of your mouth. Yeah.
It kind of puts it in a place of um, integrity,
Mm,
having integrity for um, people, being sensitive to people. Some people hurt people because they hurt, and because they hurt, they're not. You can't trust what comes out of their mouth because it's always going to be something to stab, something to cause somebody not bodily harm but mentally. And yes, people think that physical abuse is one is the harshest aspect, and it's not. They both are harsh.
mm,
Verbal, and it does not, verbal, like you said, verbal abuse sometimes is harsher,
yeah.
especially when, and I'm not diminishing being an adult, but children that
Yeah.
go through that, and they have to come through life, you know, because of the abuse that they have suffered as children. So they carry this through life, and then they carry it through life. Then one of the things that I was saying, I was, oh yes, there was no. Well, I was talking in a platform I was in, and I said one of the things that I used to did not trust people was when they said I love you, because of the negativity from a child growing up and seeing so many different things. It caused me not to believe that somebody could really love me. So these are things that causes us to respond in a way that is not authentic.
Yes, that's good. That's good.
You know, I'm trying not to. I have to do a thing today on being authentic. An authentic person first has to learn how to love themselves.
Absolutely.
And if you don't know how to love yourself, if you don't believe in you, you're not going to be trustworthy, because it first has to start with you believing in who you are and taking it to the next step, that when somebody sees you and they know who you are, most times somebody that's not trustworthy is in their action. What they say, action speaks louder than words.
Hmm.
And trustworthy falls under the aspect of being people seeing it.
Yeah.
What do I mean by that? Somebody says somebody did something wrong, and you can say, I know they didn't do that. I know them. Or I like this one. You ever plan something, or and you say, I know who the first person gonna be.
First one's
You
gonna
know,
be there. Yeah.
yeah, because they're a person of their word.
Because you can count on them.
You can count on them.
Yeah. You can count on them.
What is trustworthy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Counting on somebody,
Yeah.
depending on
Yeah.
somebody,
Yeah.
trusting in their word.
Yeah.
You know that trustworthy. Even it seems kind of awkward talking about trustworthy,
Hmm.
but trustworthy is like being dedicated.
Absolutely.
You know, being dedicated to somebody, not somebody or something. Being, how about we be dedicated to ourselves first?
Well, I was gonna say that. You said if a person doesn't know who they are or they believe in themselves,
Hey, Adrian.
they're not trustworthy. They can't trust themselves with themselves.
Right.
I
That's
can't,
right.
if I don't believe in me or if I don't know who I am, I can't trust me with me. That's serious. I don't know what I'm gonna get. at any time because I can't even trust me
Right.
with me. So how can somebody else be able to trust me?
Depend on me.
I'm not even being my authentic self. I don't know who's gonna show up. What you gonna get? I have no idea. You know,
So
yeah,
I remember um, back in the day, and hey, London, and let me just stop for a minute and say hello to everyone. Greetings. So glad that you're here today. If you have not taken a moment to hit the like sign and share and all that good stuff, please take a moment and do that. This is so wonderful. They have shifted everything. And I was up this morning trying to figure out what do I do next, and they showed you this little clip, and it was like, yeah, you're not telling me anything. So please bear with us as we continually figure it out. By the time we figure it out, they change to something else. So we just going with the program right now. But this is what I said. We were having a fashion show. Churches and stuff used to have a whole lot of fashion shows and stuff back in the day. And I was like, well, why don't you ever use so and so? They're like, oh no, they don't know how to be on time. We they don't come like they're supposed to come. I can't use them. You know, that's an example of not being trustworthy. That's an example of not, even feeling like,
right.
uh, you know, feeling like you can trust that
Right.
person.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, and that's a hard pill to swallow. Um, if you hear that people or someone felt like they couldn't depend on you or trust you, that's a hard pill to swallow. And and the thing is, especially if we are supposed to be, we are created in His image and in His likeness, and He is trustworthy. So if He is trustworthy, then we should be men and women of our words, and we should be trustworthy. Um, Proverbs 12 and um, 22 says that Yahweh detests lying lips, but he delights in men who are truthful. So, meaning that you're trustworthy, you're truthful, you're going to tell the truth.
you got your cat today.
Jesus cat won't leave me alone. Um, he ain't being trustworthy right now.
He said, I want to get up in there. I got something to say.
I'm like, little boy, get off the table. Now I gotta sanitize and disinfect. But he wanna be on, he wanted to be a special guest on Leslie.
Yes, yes,
He
yes.
wanted to talk about trustworthiness and how his mama left him.
With his grandmama.
Yes, I'm the grandmother of a cat. I'm a what's a grand cat paw mother, something. I'm gonna have to leave in a minute.
Oh,
We're sorry, y'all. We're gonna be good.
oh no. Yes, we will. But go ahead. You was talking about trustworthy.
So we read Proverbs 12 and 22 before I was so rudely interrupted. Uh, Yahweh detests lying lips, but he delights in men who are truthful. And then I pulled up several, tried to pull up several passages that talk about being trustworthy. This is one that I really like. Proverbs 11 and 13 says, unlike gossip, who fails to keep a secret, is the person who keeps a thing covered. That means you're trustworthy. Ah, unlike a gossip who fails to keep a secret, is the person who keeps a thing covered. And yeah, that means you're trustworthy. And I just, when I think about trustworthiness, I do think about Yahweh and wondering, uh, have you ever gotten to a place in your relationship with Yahweh or in your walk where you heard, I can trust you now?
Oh
I
yeah.
have. I have.
Yes.
I have. When certain things just weren't working or would not come through, or why if I can't have this, or why can't I have this, and blah 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 blah. And suddenly it happens for you, and you hear this little voice because I can trust you now. Being trustworthy is important.
It is. So since you want to talk about Yahweh, we can talk about the Israelites in the wilderness, not depending and trusting. We could talk about when Moses was up in the mountain. They was like, look, we don't know what happened to him. We want the real gods that brought us out, just not trusting in the words that they were given, not standing on the 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 instructions that they were given. And from any point of time of view, you could see them doing their own thing. uh and Moses is like, man, what, why you got me, and he stood in the gap for them. He was like, just take me. If you're going to do something to them, just take me. uh, it was like, well, we know that the father stood on Moses' word, because every time Moses spoke to him or prayed, he responded to it, no matter how foolish. Go ahead.
I'm like, since you started talking about the Israelites and Moshe and trustworthy, do you know the first person that came to my mind was that Aaron? That
That who?
Aaron,
Oh,
Aaron. I was like, y'all, this person up here.
that's a big cat too.
Aaron was not trustworthy. That was my point.
And
I will say, so maybe I should preference it by saying this. At specific times, Aaron was not trustworthy. He was not. When Moshe went up into that mountain for 40 days, and they were so used to being driven by a taskmaster. They were so used to having someone watch over them continuously, telling them what to do, telling them when to get up, telling them when to eat, telling them when the day is done, go to bed, better be back. They were, and just beating them down their backs, always breathing down their necks. They were so used to someone telling them what to do that when Moshe went up in that mountain for 40 days, they were like, well, wait, no, we need somebody to guide us. We need somebody to talk. He done left us. The man just brought y'all across the Red Sea. I mean, literally, he just, go ahead, go ahead.
this is the part when I read it, I was reading it yesterday. Well, pretty much every Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
But they bum rushed him. They was like, I said they was gonna stone him.
You think so?
I think they was gonna stone him. It says that they came up, they rolled up on him. And I'm not saying that he didn't follow instructions, but I think he became fearful, uh, because they was like, yo, if you don't do this, even though he did not tell the truth. Because when Moses said what happened, he said he put the gold in, and somehow a calf came out. But before that, it tells you that he carved a image. So he wasn't all that trustworthy. Uh,
Right. And Moshe left him in charge. I'm going up, I'm going to leave you in charge. Because Moshe felt like he was trustworthy. This is my brother. We got a relationship. You know, I'm going to leave you in charge because he felt he was trustworthy. And I'm like, dude, for real? Dude, right? And the other thing is, he had a whole lot of time to kind of think about that thing. Like you said, he had to make the golden calf. Now, at any time did he even stop and think, boy, what are you doing? This a golden calf? You what
No,
are you
that's
doing? I don't know, but I know me, I'd have been like, whatever. You have lost your mind. I'm not making no golden calf. If y'all going over there somewhere and sit down, if dad stole me, I guess, because yeah, it wouldn't have been me. It wouldn't have been me. I
mm,
promise you. It
look.
wouldn't have been me.
I know that's right, but uh, just the fact that they had that much authority to make him do what they wanted him to do,
The pressure.
the
That was
pressure.
a lot of people though. That little old Aaron, that was a lot of people. What's that, about 600,000? That was a lot of people.
They
So
rolled up on him, and he wasn't the only one left in charge. But you didn't hear nothing about
you
nobody
didn't
else.
hear nothing about, because they probably was like, no. You didn't hear nothing about them because they probably was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. Y'all want what?
Mm-hmm.
The Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
And Aaron
Look,
was
he was taking off his stuff. Bring me the
like,
gold.
oh, don't
Let's get this.
get all go. Here, take it. Get off, take it. Cuffs off, get all the gold. Let's do all right.
Yeah,
Y'all
yeah,
crazy.
but
Trustworthy.
trust.
Being trustworthy. But I believe along the lines, Aaron got himself together and he proved himself to be trustworthy. Aaron is still one that I question. I was talking to Pastor Spencer yesterday, and I told her, I said, Aaron is still the one that in my character study, I was like, he is spineless. He's a wimp. The first time I did Aaron, so I was like, he is a wimp. He is spineless. He's not even a leader. I I was so done with Aaron in when I did my character study for KYC. And I understood that he was a Levite, but I still didn't understand, and maybe I never will. Maybe Yahweh will bless me one day that he will help me to understand. I could not understand why Aaron was never punished. Now, in one instance, I was reading, and this is what Pastor Spencer and I was talking about. I was reading, it was either in Numbers or Deuteronomy, when Moshe was giving them the rundown of that day because he was getting close to leaving there. And he was giving them the rundown of that day. He was recollecting, as my grandmother used to say. And he was recollecting on what they did when he was up in the mountain and they did that golden calf and thing. And he said, Aaron, Yahweh wanted to kill you, but I interceded for you. And I was like, well, somebody tell me something, because I was wondering why he kept getting away with stuff. But then Pastor Spencer said, but he still wasn't punished. And I was like, that's right. And even because we just talked about in Proverbs 11 and 13 about the gossip. Yesterday I was studying Numbers 12 when Miriam and Aaron were talking about Moshe because he married the Ethiopian woman. And again, Yahweh got mad. It said his anger kindled against them, and he departed. And Miriam was white as snow; she was leprous, and there was Aaron untouched again. And I was like, I still don't understand why Aaron was not touched, why he never was punished. But as I'm sitting here, maybe although he made these mistakes, Yahweh saw deeper than what we see on the outside. Yahweh understood a character of Iran that we still might not, and I should say Wanda might not understand, but there was still a level of trustworthiness that Yahweh saw that we didn't see, or I still can't see.
I one of the things I did notice, is that he always had to do a sacrifice for sin. He always had to,
Mhm.
even though Moses always intervened on their behalf,
Mhm.
all of them. And he was like, kill me. If you're going to kill them, kill me first, you know. And I think that that part of it was that if you saw him, whenever he did something, he was always given the instructions uh, about that sacrifice of himself, of before him and his and the father say, before you do for anybody else, I need you to go for you and your family. Take it to the bridge. You know what I mean? So I think that that had a part to play. That's just how I seen it. That because he always was had to go and make those sacrifices, but he didn't. He had to make his own first. He
Yeah,
had to repent first.
absolutely.
So
And
I
that's what
think that because of the role he played, I don't want to seem like uh, I don't want anybody to think that if you're in a certain role that you get away with things. No,
I'm.
that's not what we're saying. But what I'm saying is he had a job and a duty to do. And part of that, the compassion of the father was allowing he never made it in now. He never made it in
That's true.
to the promised land.
That's true.
And he got stripped.
Of
He
of
most
his garments and given to his
his son.
predecessor. Yeah,
Yeah. you
yeah,
know so there was things that was done, if we really look at it, that it was like abiding your time.
yeah.
He abided his time you know
And after a while, as I'm sitting here, and I'm glad we are discussing it because as we discuss it, I am honestly seeing things a little differently as we talk about trustworthiness. Because I look at Iran and I look at us. Now, there was a purpose and a destiny for Iran. Yahweh knew that Iran is going to be my high priest.
right.
Did not mean that he didn't have proclivities. It did not mean he didn't have issues on the inside.
Everyone did.
Right, that he wasn't going to fail or fall a few times and get back up. But Yahweh again looks at the heart. While we look at the outer appearance, like I said, I was looking at the character that Iran was displaying as I read about him, and I got stuck at that character.
Yeah.
The second time I did that, I saw Iran a little different. He does have proclivities and he has weaknesses and he has strengths, but he had weaknesses like all of us do. But Yahweh knew him best and knew no matter what, Iran is going to be my high priest. Why? Because while he's going through these things now, he is going to, in the end, be trustworthy. When I was looking at those passages last week when I talked about patience, um, let patience have its perfect work in you, and how it talks about you being able, when you look up that word, look up those words, it talks about being able to endure temptation. But patience is what helps you do that. And over time, Iran had to go through that. He had to go through those different temptations, but it allowed that patience began to do its work in him so that he could be complete, wanting nothing. And he got to a point, I hope I'm saying this correctly. He finally got to a point where he could be trustworthy because in order to be the high priest, for Yahweh, you have to be trustworthy. He had to literally follow every instruction that Yahweh gave him to do when it came to temple work and being that high priest. And if you read Leviticus, you read Exodus and Leviticus, you will see the defined details that high priest has to undertake or go through to do anything.
Yeah.
It's very detail oriented, and Yahweh deemed him trustworthy that he would follow the instructions. And while he messed up in the beginning, yes, he made the golden calf. Yep, he was over there running his mouth with Miriam about Moshe. He still was able to be the high priest. When his sons died before his eyes, he couldn't even mourn. He couldn't even grieve. He had to still walk out that role as high priest. That's someone who's trustworthy.
Don't you
So
come up here with all that.
listen,
You
we
come
not
up here.
you better shake it off and keep being high priest, because we got stuff to do. And even Moshe was like, "Well, how come you didn't do just such and such and such?" He's taking that role as high priest seriously in Moshe, and he told Moshe, "Well, if I
I
did this,
can't.
would I have been able to do this?" Moshe was like, "Oh, so
Went on about his business.
right." So we go from a place of not being trustworthy. But when you let patience have its perfect work in the person, when you allow that word to work in the person, it will work out all of those issues and proclivities that they will, if that person allows it. And Aaron allowed it, where he became trustworthy.
Yeah. And the father knew he would. He had to grow.
Yes,
He had to learn responsibility on a whole nother level.
yes, yes.
And that's how he became trustworthy. He learned to mature. That was all a maturing process for him, you know. Uh, he he was a high, well, not at that time a high, well, he became a high priest,
Mhm.
but it was all a part of the plan of the father. The father, the plan he had with Moses, and using Moses, he knew, before he used him, Moses was gonna, I'm gonna say, act a fool when he got mad. Because even with the father, and it just cracks me up. I don't know why we talking about this, but
Right.
it cracks me up that even when I think about how he was up there for 40 days and 40 nights, and the father got mad. He's like, no, you can't kill them. You can't do this, because then the Egyptians is going to say you brought them out here and you set them up, and all this stuff. And the father was like, okay, I repent. Go on down. Get out my face. Let me calm down. And Moses come down to the end of the hill and break up the commandments, because he hot.
Yeah, right, right.
I just think that is such a funny thing to me.
It is.
Their
It's really funny.
relationship.
It's so funny. Um, I now that's why we see Levi's temperament when we look at the sons. We really see their temperament. That Levi is something else, right? And I believe this is just Wanda. It's not Bible. I believe that Yahweh was like, yeah, I'm let the Levites dedicate the Levites to me. Dedicate to me. Because they had the same temperament. Yahweh would be hot in a minute. Listen, hot,
Cut off your heads.
cut off. He was hot in a minute. And
Yeah.
all you'll be reading, and his anger kindled against them. And
That's right.
crown opened up. I'm like, look, when I was reading yesterday, I was hollering. He said, and his anger kindled
Yeah.
against them, and he departed, and the cloud left, and she was
Uh-huh.
leprous, white
Mhm.
as snow. He cut out, and in his cutting out, he did some things before he left. I was hollering. I said,
Mhm.
man, just like that.
Just like
When
that.
you read his anger kindled against them, the next thing is not going to be nice.
Yep.
It's not going to be nice. And the Levites are just like that. You saw it in Moshe. Moshe would get mad. Look, they was getting on his nerves. Instead of speaking to the rock, he struck the rock.
But
Yeah,
I promise you, I get it.
I do too.
Leading the
Got on
people.
my nerves. Read
I
it.
said, I ain't mad at Mo. I
I
ain't mad at
ain't
Moshe.
read it. They got on my nerves. I listen. I changed my mind. I'm get somebody else to do it. I'm not dealing with them. I'm sick of them. I am sick of them.
And he
I'm
said it many times.
he did.
He said it many times, and I think that the when you think about it, how, and this is the part that always stands in my mind, that how much he had compassion for the people. Moshe had compassion because he was always standing up for them, interceding for them. Look, now Apostle talks about an intercessor. He was an intercessor because he was
He
like,
really was.
kill me,
He really was.
take me, instead of doing this to your people that you brought out of. But the part that was so interesting to me was that how he said, how Elohim said, Yahweh said to him, um, I'm gonna get rid of them, and you still gonna be have many nations. You gonna,
I'll
I
get
would
you
have been
another
like,
nation.
bet. I would have been
Right,
like,
right.
bet.
True that. Do that. That'll work. Cause I'm sick of them. Go ahead. I'm gonna stand back like this and watch.
And he's like, no.
Right, right. He was like, just wipe them out. I look. I'll get you another nation.
A
Okay.
whole, I was like, and he gave that up because he was so compassionate for the people. He loved the people enough that he was willing to die for them. That's a great example of an intercessor. So,
It is. It
you
is.
know, if we go to the New Testament, and we're not going there, but I'm just saying Yeshua was the same way.
He was.
And people say, oh, he loved, no, he loved his father. He
Y'all
loved
got on
us.
his nerves too.
He loved his father. And he was like, look, Dad, if it be
I done
your
came
will.
down here. We doing this for them. Now, yeah, lately that it takes a apostle to talk about. They didn't call my mama, you know. I'm not gonna use a trollop. How about we say that? We, they didn't call my mama a trollop. They done talked about my daddy. They done talked about me and my family and all of this. And they done did this, they done did that. Yeah, I'm sick of all of them. I don't want to die for near one of them. Nope, nope.
He said, I died for you that didn't even believe in me.
And he did. He did. He came, he died so that we could be forgiven for our sins. Because up until at that point, your sins could only be covered, they could not be forgiven. So he came so that our sins could be forgiven and that we could have the right to eternal life with him.
So let's back up 1 minute, and we're about to close. Who shall I send? Send me, prepare me a body trustworthy.
I'm trustworthy. I'm trustworthy. You can trust me.
That sends chills in my body.
Yes. And that's why, listen, that's so good. Because now let's go to the Garden of Gethsemane. And that Garden of Gethsemane was actually where the olives grew. And it was an olive press there. So that was significant in itself because in order to get the oil out of an olive, it must be
Mm.
pressed. And so here, I mean, pressed, crushed. And so here we have the body of Yeshua with the word, the son on the inside, who is trustworthy. But that also meant that that body, Yeshua, had to be trustworthy as well. And so that's why when he went and prayed those 3 times, there was no answer because Adonai was trustworthy. So Yeshua had to line up with that as well and remember that he was trustworthy and he had to complete the assignment. And so when we look at ourselves, I think it was it Isaiah or Jeremiah that said, send me, you know,
Isaiah.
Isaiah, I'll go. When we look at ourselves and we look at this word trustworthy,
Oh yeah, I was doing that. Go ahead.
Are we are we trust when he looks at us? Are we trustworthy? Are we trustworthy to remember his word, keep his word? Are we trustworthy that we will seek him in all things? Are we trustworthy that when oppositions come, situations come, will we be trustworthy enough to filter it through the writ, through the word, and handle it as he's instructed us to handle it? Are we trustworthy enough to follow the instructions? Are we trustworthy enough to look like him, to walk and talk? Because Yeshua came to show us. Don't let nobody tell you, baby, you ain't God. You can't do that. No, 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 no. That's why the Son came down in the form of flesh, sinful flesh, to show us, oh yeah, baby, you can walk this out. I, I'm come to show you that you can most definitely walk out these instructions and live by these instructions. And we read that he was tempted on every side. And when Satan came, he found nothing in him. So he took away our excuses. So when we look at ourselves today, am I trustworthy?
We're closing, but there's so much in that because the father said would tell he was saying to Moses, am I trustworthy?
Mm,
Do you believe me?
that's good.
You know, and people, this the word on the street is, I've heard this a couple of times now, is what kind of God would kill his son? He didn't kill his son, he killed the flesh. The flesh had to die.
God can't die. God can't die. But
Neither can
that
the Son of
that
God.
the Son of Man can die,
Right. That
but
flesh.
The Son of God cannot die, but the
The
Son of
flesh.
Man can, and the Son of Man did.
Yeah.
He
And
was
when he went to the cross, he went to the cross because he was trusting in the Father's word
absolutely, and the Father kept His word to
every
the end,
time.
and Yeshua kept His word
Yeah. Down to the last minute.
down to the
But
last.
listen, it's 10 o'clock, and this time went fast. I want to thank everybody for being here. We appreciate you being here. If you did not take a moment to hit that like sign, subscribe, or share, please do so. And until we meet again, I want to say have an amazing rest of the day, and just remember that we love you. I see you want to say something, but we can never love you like Yahweh can love you. And you can close us out.
I just wanted to ask everybody to join me today at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I changed the time just so she can join us. Today on Let's Talk with Wanda, Dr. Inisa Mathis is going to be my guest, and we're going to talk about identity and purpose. So I want you there. If you can't be there because it's about 8 o'clock your time, Eastern Standard Time, there will be a replay. And I want you to join because anybody who does not know their identity, you will not know your purpose. And if you don't know your purpose, I guarantee you it's because you don't know your identity. You don't want to miss that one.
And you won't get to your destiny.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you everyone for being here. And like I said, I pray that you would uh, begin to ponder on being trustworthy, being a person of your word that people could stand on. And let me say this real quick. I want to say to all the military, because last year I did something, this year it just kind of came here, and it's thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for all you have done. I've said thank you to some, and they're like, well, I never went to war, but you was willing to go. You when you signed on that dotted line, you were saying, if there's a war, I will go. And to want to stand in the gap. And everybody does it for different reasons. But for those that wanted to, some say die for their country, whatever the case may be, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because being in the military is not no easy thing. Being in the military. So, Pastor Daphne, thank you.
Yes.
Um, Brother Ronnie, thank you. And anyone else that's on here or
Yes.
that's listening later, and not even that's on here, take a time, somebody, and thank somebody for their service.
Yes.
Doesn't take anything from you.
Yes.
So, please remember those that uh, are lined up right now,
Yes.
prepared, waiting for the word. If there's a war, they already have an assignment. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to say thank you for making sure that we are safe.
Yes. Yes.
We don't want to take that for granted.
Yes.
So, even to your daughter, thank you. Thank you. Tell her we
Yes.
said thank you.
Yes.
We appreciate it.
We thank all of you for your service, for your bravery, for your commitment, and for your love for your country.
For
Thank you
your
for keeping
country.
us safe. Yes.
Yeah. So, till we meet again, have an amazing day. And know, like I said, we love you. We can never love you the way Yahweh loves you. So have a